AJ. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for having me. I appreciate it.
I want to just talk a little bit about you. AJ is kind enough to join us and share his story. Thank you. AJ's been through 6 different treatment centers, and he agreed to go to Beachway so his wife wouldn't have to watch him die.
Correct.
And his wife even told the people there that he would AMA in 48 hours. AMA basically means that he would leave. But this time was different, right?
Correct.
And I want to first tell the story of your struggle so everybody can understand, how did this happen? Like, how did you go from 6 different treatment centers to where you are today? So first share with everybody, what was the cycle of addiction for you? What started for you?
The longest run of sobriety I've had is from 1966 to the time I was 15. From that point on, vodka was part of my life. In 2019, I underwent bariatric surgery, and it all changed. I was no longer able to control the vodka. The vodka slowly took over completely, me physically and mentally. Upon arrival to Beachway, I had gone through 6 other treatment centers. These centers, I did not progress properly. I did not follow the direction, and I immediately went back and out. When I arrived at Beachway, I was as close to death as you can get. I was told by doctors that I would not make it, and I literally came across the state from Naples so they could deal with the body. My wife brought me over here. It all changed at Beachway on January 27, 2024.
And that was your sobriety date.
Correct.
Correct. I know that your wife was a big part of this process, as you just said. Can you talk a little bit about that 22-page impact letter that she wrote to you?
Wow.
What you'd like to share?
The impact letter was 22 pages long and was delivered to me in front of every guest and every staff member during my treatment. This was not composed just for Beachway. Prior treatment centers had her do it, and she kept addendumizing it. It literally finally brought me to my knees. I realized the destruction. I realized the hurt. I've been married 36 years as of today, and I put that woman through misery for the last 12.
And you and I chatted, and you said the letter really made you look inside yourself and see the truth of what was going on. Was that the first time you felt like, since you were a little kid, it sounds like, that you felt that moment where you actually could see what was really going on?
I did not know the impact and the level of the destruction and what alcohol had done to me. Mm-hmm. At the point I was at, I was no longer able to take care of myself mentally or physically. This was a life-threatening situation. I had been hospitalized on life support for alcohol, but I did not realize how much destruction and how much hurt I had laid down the years prior.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's interesting because you say you went to 6 different treatment centers, right? But it was at this moment that actually changed it for you. And I think that's really important for people who are listening or watching, that if they have struggled with addiction and they've gotten help, but they fall again, there is a moment that maybe hasn't arrived for them yet where they're going to actually be able to say, okay, this time it's different. Like, I can do this. Do you think that's true?
That is absolutely true. Mm-hmm. In my case, speaking as in I statements, I came in with an ego. Mm-hmm. I came in with an attitude. And when I awoke in detox, I was angry I was alive. Mm. I was not following direction in the beginning, and it took one particular man there and a team of women to break me. When they broke me, I laid the sword down, dropped the rock, and followed their direction. And to this day, I still have not returned to Naples and followed the direction on sobriety.
I want to talk a little bit about your journey. When we chatted, you said it was really a team of people. And I think that's really important, because when you're somebody who your whole life sounds like you've always taken care of yourself, you've always had pride in taking care of everybody else, right?
Correct.
You've had an occupation where you take care of your team, but here now you need a team to take care of you.
You are right.
And how was that hard for you to make that transition?
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
The team that took care of me started in the parking lot when I arrived. I was not physically able to go into the buildings. They assisted me and physically carried me into the buildings. From that point on, from the nursing staff to the kitchen staff to everybody in the building, it was all hands on. All that staff saved my life.
You also talked a little bit about simplicity. So I got the feeling that your old life was a little grandiose. Is that fair?
Yes.
Okay, so part of this process was the humility and the simplicity. Sometimes, I don't want to say your age, but sometimes, it's hard when you get to a certain age and you've lived a certain way to do that. But how important is that to really hone in on the simplicity? Because I hear that from a lot of alumni that in life everything is overcomplicated to the point where people start to self-medicate. But when you take all those things away, it just brings you back to you and your loved ones and really what else matters at that point, right?
You are very correct. I have not returned to Naples as of today. I do have a home in Naples. I have a wife. I have kids. I even have my parents still alive in Naples. I spent a large period of time at Beachway, and I also spent a long period of time in a sober living house. Prior to me arriving at a sober living house, I didn't even know what it was. To this day, I live very simple in an RV.
Yeah, your RV. So that is a big change.
Yes, it is.
But it's part of the process. And what would you say to people who think they only need 30 days to get better?
It's not doable.
Yeah.
I will argue that point, and I am a 6-time loser with 28 days and out. I do not know anybody who has gone through the programs that I've gone through, with the exception of one guy in a prior treatment facility and one girl who I went through here locally who was 20 years old. Those are the only 3 people I know that have made it, and they were not even 30, they were 45 to 50 days. I do not know anybody who can do this in 30 days. I have not done it in a year. In a year, I'm not comfortable yet.
Well, I think everybody's experience is different, but what this gives hope for is the people who have tried in the past and it did not work. They may need more time. They may need sober living. They may need to not go home for a year because it's part of the process. Everybody's going to be different, but I think it's really important that we shed light on that because that is still somewhat of an unknown for people. People think it's 28 days, but really it's as long as it takes, right?
You are correct. Has to be your number one priority. Today, as I sit here, my number one priority is my sobriety. If it is not my number one priority, everything below me will crumble again. I was unable to do it in 28. I was unable to do it in 60. I was unable to do it in 75, 90, and 150 days later, I left the treatment facility. I then began the second phase of the journey. I'm now at 13 months, and I still am following the recommendations of the people that saved my life.
And that's the way it's working for you, and it's working.
It has to work.
Yeah, it has to work. I want to talk a little bit about your life in recovery now. So you have a story about somebody giving you a sticker. And would you mind sharing that story?
While I was in treatment, I had maxed out on just about every substance abuse class there was. I was there that long. Because they put me into the trauma division there, and I sat in a class, and a lady put a round sticker on me and wrote the word pause on it. Every time I got squirrely and paused, I was to hit that sticker and pause and take a breath. When I came into this facility, I had no tattoos on me. I have this pause tattooed on me. I use that sticker to this day. And it's not a sticker, it's actually a tattoo. It was part of a long-term sobriety effort to remind me just how bad it was when I was at the gates of hell, the misery, where I was, where dying was a better option than living.
I'm sorry you had to go through that. That's a real struggle. It sounds like to me that also part of your recovery, though, is helping other people now.
You are correct.
Can you share a little bit about that as well?
I'm currently in Tampa, Florida, but I spent my entire time up until 2 weeks ago in West Palm.
Mm-hmm.
I stayed in this county. I did go back to work. But besides that, I have a huge fellowship here. I'm an active member in AA. I'm a sponsor. I do anything related to sobriety I can do. I talk, I mentor, I sponsor. It is a daily requirement for me to do.
So it's helping others, but it also helps you.
It's the only way I can pay it forward.
Mm-hmm. What would you tell someone who is listening to this, who was in a similar position? They have gone to rehab a few times. They're still unable to get sober. They're still struggling. They also could be dealing with some co-occurring mental health issues, and they just feel like they don't know what to do. What would you tell them?
What we did in the past,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the destruction and the damage or the treatment centers, is exactly that word. It is in the past. You have to continue to fight. If you give up, it will end in institution, incarceration, or death.
Mm-hmm.
So you need to just give it another try. And if it doesn't work, give it another try. It will work eventually.
Mm-hmm.
Once you drop the rock and surrender and follow direction, there is millions of people out here like myself who are living in sobriety, living with mental illness. And most
Mm-hmm.
people do not do it the first, second, or third time. They have to keep going,
Mm-hmm.
regardless of the consequences. And you have to do it for yourself first.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so how's your relationship with your wife now?
My relationship with my wife is the best it's been in the last 25 years.
Mm-hmm.
My relationship with my kids is the best it's been in their entire life. All the damage, all the destruction has fallen to the wayside. And all I did was get sober.
And it was a journey for you.
Correct.
But you're still working it every day. It just sounds like to me.
Every hour.
Every hour. So the message would be, if you don't get it right the first time, just don't stop trying.
You can't stop trying,
right,
or you will die. That's the only way out of this.
So AJ, I know that you've been in 6 different treatment centers, and it was a long time to get you to this point. Can you share some of the low points? Only what you're comfortable with, because it might resonate with someone out there listening.
Probably the biggest low point was I have been incarcerated multiple times due to alcohol. That would be, besides the complete embarrassment to the community, the friends and everything, it was separation from the family. My children, my wife saw me get handcuffed, pulled out of my own home many times. My wife and kids saw me in it get pulled out of my house with ambulances on near-death experiences from falling, busting, bones, heads. Those are the most troubling memories I have. I lost uncountable dollars from mismanagement of companies. The isolation is horrifying for those of you that are isolating now due to substance abuse or mental illness. The feeling is overwhelming. I realize that. It was the lowest point any human being can go to. The recovery has brought back those memories, which I carry it in a backpack. I will never be able to get rid of them. I can't block them out. What I did, I did. And now I'm just paying it forward to the people that hopefully somebody out there is sitting there all by themselves like I was, disappearing into a liquid or a chemical or a dry good or a mental illness and thinking there's no hope. But there is a hope.
Absolutely. Well, you're proof of that.
Thank you.
Can you talk a little bit about your time at the treatment center? So what was it like on day 1 versus day 150 when you were there?
Well, day 1, I don't really have any memory of. I was on my patio, and I was put in the back of an SUV and brought across the state today. Day 3, I woke up in the detox center, completely aggravated that I was alive. At that point, I had to figure a way to get out of there. And the staff really got me back physically and mentally. And as the days went by, I started to be able to walk on my own. I started to get some food in me. I started to get some liquids in me. And things got better. I actually could talk. I suffered severe disabilities from alcohol. I was having a very hard time comprehending. Mentally, they say about 20%.
Wow.
Physically, I was at about 10%. So as I recovered physically and mentally, the progress got good. But I did not surrender for the first couple weeks. I had a way, I thought, of, I got this, doing it myself once again, when the demon inside me was just trying to get me free to drink again. As the time went on, a feeling came over me that there was no way I would ever make it through another run with vodka. And I did set the sword down and began to follow direction. From that point on, every day got better and better. And to this day, tomorrow will be better than today. The key to my treatment was I did never question anybody. I didn't agree on a lot of things, and I definitely did not agree on sober living. However, it was as important to me in my recovery, when I look back on it now, as my time at the treatment center. I listened, I followed direction, I did what I was told. My ego was parked, my attitude was parked, and I only focused on what professionals and people who have been there told me.
And on day 150, was that at the sober living facility?
When I left the treatment center, I did not even know what the word sober living meant.
Okay.
It was a shock and awe for me. It was a different situation I've been in. The men that I shared the house with are some of the dearest friends I have to this day.
That's amazing.
I lived in a situation which I've never lived in before. I've never had a roommate since college. In the beginning, I struggled. I literally walked back to the treatment center for the first 5 days and sat on the patio like a lost dog who came back home. As I got the concept and through outpatient and working with it, I figured out what I was supposed to do. And as I did that, I got stronger and stronger. That phase lasted 6 months. I was asked to stay in sober living 6 months, and I stayed in sober living 6 months. I then began the final phase of beginning to progress out on my own. To this day, I am out on my own, but I have not returned to my family. I have not returned to my house. I have not returned to my parents. I don't even live in the same area where my family does.
What are your plans? Or are you taking it a day at a time?
I have absolutely no plans at all. When I feel I am able to go back to the life I left and not take a chance of dying, I will make the decision at that point. Right now, I have a 1-year plan, a year-by-year plan. And this year, I'm staying focused on my sobriety. I am not at 100%. And anybody after 1 year who says they're at 100% is amazing to me. I know I'm still weak in certain areas, and I cannot go back down to that bottom.
And I appreciate your honesty on that, because sometimes it's hard when you feel like, okay, I've got this. But you're saying, you know, I really need to take the time to make sure that I feel 100% confident that I can go back. And until I do, this is the place for me.
When I hear someone tell me I got this, I'm going to answer you right now. No, you do not.
Right.
We will never have this.
Yeah.
Tomorrow, I'm going to be faced with a new challenge. I don't know what it is. I don't know what stressor it's going to be. Mm-hmm. Will it be an emergency? Will it be a work situation? Will it be a car accident? Will it be a death of a family or something? We do not have this. Mm-hmm. We never will. But as we get stronger and stronger, we're able to handle those obstacles that are thrown at us.
Mm-hmm. So today, you feel like you're stronger than day one.
Oh, yes.
What tools did you learn at the treatment center and that you carry with you? So when you do have a stressor come up, you know how to handle it.
Like I had said earlier, I did not have a tattoo on my body. Mm-hmm. My 5 tools are tattooed on my arms.
What are they? Pause.
One is I will pause when I get stressed. I'm a project manager in the construction industry. I get hit at times hard. I will step away and pause. The next thing is the tree of life on my arm. There is no logical answer to why I'm walking this earth and alive after what has happened to me. Mm-hmm. I believe that there is a force or an unknown system that is protecting me. On my other arm is a wolf. It symbolizes we have to do this for ourselves. Mm. I am a lone wolf right now. My sobriety is my number one priority. Do I have a lot of other wolves in the pack? Absolutely. I can call any one of my fellowship members, trustees, even therapists. The other thing on my arm is my family. My family has supported me from day one. Mm-hmm. That is important to me. Without their support, it would be a lot more difficult. And the bottom one is a rock called Drop the Rock, which is a book that saved my life.
Who wrote that book?
I don't know who wrote it, but I've listened to it and read it numerous times. The way of living your life in sobriety is in this book. This is the Betty Crocker recipe book for sobriety.
What is your top takeaway from that book?
That we have to give back. We have to live a healthy, sober life for others. Mm-hmm. We cannot be selfish. We cannot be demanding. We have to believe that there's a higher power or another force, regardless of your beliefs, that is helping us. We're not going to be here forever.
Mm-hmm. I see you have one life to live here.
I have one life, live it.
One life, live it.
One life, live it is
your motto.
It's also the tagline for Land Rovers, which I'm an avid car guy with Land Rovers. It is exactly the statement that fits every one of us. Right. We only have one shot at this. Mm-hmm. Okay, we have to live it. Mm-hmm. Okay, the way I was, laying in hospital beds with hoses down me, being hauled into detox centers, being Baker acted, is not a way to live it. Besides the people that I've hurt and that we're all affecting, our employees, our families, our relatives, it doesn't matter. The circle of chaos goes so far, it's not the way to live your life. It's not fair to this world and to the people around you. That is exactly what this book is about. The book refers to the big book in the steps, the later steps in the book.
And it's so good that you have a book to refer to and that it is your book. I know that there's a lot of books out there that people definitely turn to because they can be helpful. What else do you do for your own self-care besides read?
I do not miss a day of listening to podcasts. I'm with the Wolf program I'm in. I do a lot of inspirational videos.
Nice.
I do a lot of self-reflection. There's a man at Beachway that really got me going on the Dharma and the meditation. I have actually been to Peru with the shamans also to try a Hail Mary attempt at getting sober. So I had been aware of it before. I eat right, and I do take time to really be grateful, and my gratitude every day of what's around me. Whether it's something as simple as pushing a shopping cart in that was in the parking lot to helping some kid who just can't get his tire fixed on his bike.
And paying it forward, that you got a second chance, so you're paying that forward.
There's no way I can repay the debt that I owe Brian, the staff, and the people that saved my life. All I can do is offset that by paying it towards others.
I love that. I know Dina, the family therapist, you owe her a lot. She really helped your wife.
To this day, my wife is still involved with Dina. Dina has made an impact on my family that there's no way to describe it. Did I agree with Dina every minute? No. But she is part of that Lioness Club I referred to earlier. She was the key person to saving my life.
And the family therapy, which is kind of separate, right, from the individual therapy you were receiving. So the family therapy could be with you or it could be without you. How important is that in the overall sense of getting well?
Everybody has to realize this disease does not just affect them. My disease destroyed my family, my wife, my kids, my parents, my brother. The family is suffering just as much as you, if not worse, and they did nothing wrong. To network in the family separate from my therapy and then bring them together at the end is priceless. We have to return to our wives. We have to return to our kids. We have to someday be back to normalcy.
Right, return back to society.
Society, yeah. Our own homes.
Right. And I know that's the goal for you, to eventually go back home.
Correct.
And I know that you're taking it a day at a time. Is there anything you'd want to tell our audience as like a final word, as getting to a place where you can give yourself grace, you can pause, taking it a day at a time, taking each step forward? Is there something you could share with them?
I was told by a man who had over 45 years sober, this is not a marathon. This is not a sprint. It's a marathon. Every day I move forward. However, there is days where I feel I don't make any progress. There's days where I possibly might slip back a little bit. I might not feel I'm on my A game. I might not feel as serene and happy as I am, but I keep going forward. And I see now the light at the end of the tunnel. Last year, I would have never thought I would have ever even been alive, let alone been able to return to my life.
And in 1 year's time, what a change, right?
You would not even, nobody even recognizes me anymore.
That's amazing. Well, thank you for your story of hope and recovery.
Thank you for having me.
We appreciate you being here.
Enjoy your day.
Thank you.